Welcome everybody to Two's Company, Three's a Podcast YouTube edition.
Whoa! That's intense.
It is intense. My name is Dylan and as always with my co-host
Mitchell, and you have stumbled upon our weekly YouTube cinema review, which we are very excited to talk about, but that has a special name now, doesn't it, Dylan?
It absolutely does, but what is that name, Mitchell?
Oh, well, that name is 2C3 Pod DTC which stands for Two's Company, Three's a Podcast.
Does the cinema.
That's right, and not only that, we have theme music.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
Let's get into it. Coming at you fresh, coming from afar, it's 2C3 Pod DTC. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Cringe.
It is time for 2C3 Pod DTC. Hey, we started doing it a long time ago on the podcast.
And we're not stopping anytime soon.
Exactly,
No,
that's right. You're stuck with it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we discussed in last week's fantastic Ghostbusters film review, at the moment in this current climate, there isn't too many fresh new things coming to cinemas.
That's right.
What a lot of cinemas are doing are bringing back the old classics for the big screen and giving younger people like ourselves, we're young, younger people a chance to see these old classics on the big screen. So as you know by the thumbnail and of course the title of the film, of the video, we got the chance to see on the big screen an absolute fucking classic in Predator.
1987's Predator. And I tell you what, this movie has aged like a fine wine. I will say there's been many Predator sequels since then, and there's been some ups and downs in the franchise as a whole.
Of course.
The great thing about the cinema experience is, as you mentioned, like we didn't have the chance to experience these movies when they were in the cinemas back in the 80s.
Because we weren't alive.
That's correct. So to get the opportunity now and not to have these opportunities overshadowed by modern films,
that's right,
is an excellent time to really fit these in. And I'm hoping that before regular cinemas start before regular movies start returning to cinemas,
of course,
we get to see a few more classics. But for now, let's talk about Predator, because this movie, I haven't watched it in a while.
Yep.
But I have watched it at least 1,000 times in my life.
Of course.
And getting to witness this on the big screen for me was almost like watching it for the first time.
Dude, it was an experience. And I remember your Snapchat when you went to go and see it, and just seeing that 20th Century Fox logo just... and how it's not HD and it's a bit grainy and that. Oh man, it's just so good, and it just took me to a happy place, man.
Yeah.
But before we go deep into the review, I just want to give a quick shout out to the person, because I went to Tuggerah this time for it.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I like to branch out between my event cinemas.
Yep.
But I just want to give a quick shout out to, there was probably about a dozen people in there with all the spacing with COVID and stuff like that. And I want to give a quick shout out to the guy in front who, when during the previews, Mulan, the trailer played, and they haven't edited the release date, so it still says March 26th, and it popped up on the screen, and in his full voice, he just went, "Ha! March 26th!"
That's a knee slapper there, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly, like full voice, just did it while shoveling popcorn and that. And you could see his wife next to him going, Barry.
Yeah,
Barry. But anyway, shout out to that guy, because that was hilarious. But anyway, so the feel, vibe of this was just... I haven't had a cinema experience like this for a while. I mean, I got to see Ghostbusters, but this one, for some reason, just like grabbed onto me even more.
This film is just pure testosterone fuel. And the thing about this film as well is obviously that it was at the peak of like the 80s action films. 1987 was that year that like obviously we've had 80s actions up until that point.
Yeah.
But it seems to be the peak, I think, in 80s action films was 87.
Yeah.
We've got Carl Weathers, we've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, even Shane Black, the director and writer of the most recent Predator film. One thing I did notice, he's the first to die.
Yes, Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins, the first to die. So it's kind of like, well, fuck you for making that shit film.
He had those hilarious jokes about his girlfriend's pussy.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like,
and there was a very inappropriate 2020 joke when they're in their helicopter.
Yeah.
When the guy, what's his...
Jesse Ventura?
Yeah, Jesse Ventura.
Was it a joke or was it a comment and a word he said?
It was a comment and a word, but it was within a joke that he was saying.
Exactly,
But I do love his mention of becoming a sexual tyrannosaurus like me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's absolutely classic.
So there is some dialogue that, it's not that it hasn't aged well, but it's very dated.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is quite a bit of that, of course, but you can't go past there's so much wit in the dialogue as well.
Well, that's what makes this film so great in comparison to the later Predator films, especially the most recent Predators, because that film, I could complain about its problems. There's some enjoyment to be had, but the contrast between the two is the characters and the dialogue and the tone of the film. So primarily this film does have comedic elements, but the comedic elements come from natural dialogue between this testosterone-fueled army dudes.
Yes,
as where the latest film, comedy is in there because comedy is in there, and that's what MCU does these days, and it doesn't work.
That's right.
And it's very unnatural. This is very natural.
No, that's right. They feel like in today's modern film, they have to put it in there. Whereas this kind of just seems like they were just writing the dialogue along as it goes, and they just found natural little gaps to put these humorous moments in. Speaking of the dialogue, it's got, as I posted on our social medias at 223pod, of course. It's got two of my favorite movie lines ever.
Oh, really? What are they?
Ever. Well, of course, there's "Get to the chopper."
Oh, yeah. And the other one is definitely "Goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus."
No, but it is from Jesse Ventura's character.
Okay. Ain't got time to bleed.
Here it is. That's the one, exactly. As soon as the feeling
every time somebody cocks a minigun in a film, you just think that doesn't happen, but I love it.
Exactly, that's right. But this film, just being able to see it on the big screen, it was just a different vibe. Like when I heard those lines, I got like goosebumps and hyped, and I just had such a great time.
While we're on the topic of like enjoying a film for the lines and the dialogue as well, I do get what you mean as well by the fact that there's something about this film. Fair enough, we see a lot of films lately, because there's so much coming out, but there was an extra level of enjoyment and fun to be had with this film.
100%.
But there's that famous scene, Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Yes.
And they do the arm wrestle between him and
then there's
Arnold
like
Schwarzenegger.
a solid 8 seconds of just seeing their arms.
But when that happened, so the cinema, there was me and my wife, Taylor, she was sitting next to me. She'd never seen this film before.
Oh, wow.
So I'll get to the pacing in a moment. And I'll get to the pacing and her comments on that in a moment. But when that scene happened, there was a few rows up the back of the cinema which were half full. That scene happened, they go bam, and the cinema goes ooh. There was a verbal ooh, and I was like, I haven't experienced a verbal ooh ah in a film in it feels like
love that.
Ever.
I love that. You're right. I can't even think of the last time that happened. It might have been during one of the screenings I saw for Knives Out, where like a reveal happened and people went, ooh,
or a comedy where somebody laughs. But when there's a scene like
an
that,
action moment and it's
and we see muscle-bound dudes like The Rock in films all the time, but there's just something different about Schwarzenegger and Carl. What's his name?
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers are both just massive, masculine dudes, so likable in this film.
That's
Dutch is like the ultimate ranger, and I love it.
Yes, no, absolutely. But I don't know if it's because I hadn't had the chance to see this on the big screen, but I forgot that Carl Weathers was a beast.
Oh,
like
for sure.
Absolute beast. My
we
God,
talked about Rocky last week in last week's episodes.
Right. Yeah. No, and I just completely, like, when I saw him for the first time with his shirt off and the vest and that.
And he's got his abs protruding through.
And I'm like, holy shit, dude. Carl Weathers did good. You know? Like,
out of all of the guys in this film, obviously there's this ragtag team of soldiers that are sent into the jungle, into the Congo, essentially, to essentially uncover a particular operation that's happening. But turns out they were lied to. They were dragged into it on false pretenses.
Exactly.
As we mentioned earlier, the film is just completely testosterone fueled, but there's nothing about this that's like offensive other than that maybe that one little joke said in the helicopter for today's standard.
Exactly. But that's the thing. I feel like if you tweak that one particular word, it would still pass in an MA movie today.
It wouldn't fly on Fox fucking streaming services, that's for sure.
No, that's right, But I feel like if they tweak that one word, it would pass for an MA movie, you know?
Yeah. But Speaking of feel of a film as well, as you mentioned at the top of this review, film discussion, we should call it.
We're just discussing Predator. We assume if you've clicked it, you like Predator and you just wanted to hear our thoughts about it.
Yeah.
We fucking love it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The opening credits of the film where the 20th Century Fox logo comes in and it's kind of grainy and it's got that kind of off-sounding like tape sound to it.
Yes.
There's one thing I think that would have made the experience of this, like the cinematic experience, that next level is not seeing a HD version of the film.
Okay.
Wouldn't it have been fantastic if we can actually experience a film version of this,
projected
version of this film? I mean, it's great to see it in high definition on the big screen, because everything really shows through really well. All of the special effects really hold up, you know, and even some of the classic electrical effects and the spaceship at the beginning, like you can see how see how rudimentary it is compared to today's standards, but that's what makes it so good.
No,
but I think
absolutely.
adding that extra level of film grain and that originality to it would have just tipped it off for me.
Oh, 100%. And there has to be some theaters out there that still use projectors, and if they do and they show old classics like that, sign me the F up.
Fuck
because,
yeah.
Oh, man. I love it how I censored, sign me the F up, and you're like, fuck yeah.
Beep, sorry.
No, we're not monetized or anything, so we have fucking fun.
Yeah.
But, if you get the chance in your local theaters around you and they're showing old classics, don't be off-put by that.
No, for sure.
Especially if it's one that you definitely haven't had the chance to see, like us with an 80s film. We were born in the 90s. We would have never had the chance to have seen this on the big screen.
Yeah, and you may never again. So that's why it's good to jump on the opportunity to actually have that experience.
Well, and especially right now in this peak time where they are showing so many classics, like our local last week was showing Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction and all of those kind of ones. Take the chance while you can, because every now and then they have old movie screenings when the world's normal. But, I mean, right now is peak time to go and see one of your favorites on the big screen. That's for sure. I swear to God, man, if there's Fight Club, I'm going every day. Like dead set, man. Dead set. But anyway,
let's have a chat about like the actual pacing and like the story of the film. As we said earlier, that it follows the group of soldiers that are headed into the jungle. With like my wife, as I mentioned earlier, it's her first time experiencing this Predator film. She's seen a few of the others. Her favorites are the AVP films, which they're hit and miss for me personally.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But I think it was about halfway through, she was like, "Where's the Predator?" And I was like, "That's what makes this film so fucking good." Is because you don't see the thing until really get a good look at the thing.
That's right.
Until the last maybe half to the third act. Really,
because absolutely.
The whole film is just this really suspenseful hunt of these men who are lost in the wilderness.
That's right.
And there's something that they cannot see, they've never heard of before, that's hunting them, and that is terrifying in its own right. It's hard to call this a straight horror like its cousin Alien.
Yes.
Because of, obviously, there's a very big difference between those films. One's set in the dark of space and this is set in the bright lit jungle.
Yeah.
But it does that perfect job of balancing the terrifying nature that there's this ultimate predator that's hunting these dudes who are also the ultimate predators of the human race.
That's right.
Basically. But you don't see the predator up until about the third act.
Yeah.
And when it's shown, I think that the Kevin Peter Hall, so playing the Predator and the prosthetics and the kind of costume that they use, the fact that there's no CGI involved with the outfit, everything looks wet. Everything looks gross. Like you could touch his skin and it would be slimy. I love, and practical effects as well. There's a scene. There's a particular scene when the soldiers at the beginning of the film, they stumble upon the cocaine factory or whatever it is.
Yeah, of course.
And one of the hostages gets a bullet to the head. Yeah. And rather than having like a fake digital squib, they must have had like a proper squib blood packet on the side of his head, and you see the splatter. Yep. And it's so much more visceral. I don't know how many times I have to say it. It's just it makes it feel so real.
Absolutely. That is a regular topic of discussion on the podcast. We've posted it on our social media.
Check the archives.
Everything about that, because we are both so passionate about practical effects and squibs, real squibs, and seeing it happen on the screen instead of digitally enhanced afterwards. And it's so frustrating.
Seeing the muck, land on a pillow and it's seeping into it.
Just the simple fact that you watch this movie and everything you see besides the, I'm not sure if it's a ray gun, laser gun, I'm not technical with what the Predator's weapon is.
Oh, I'm not sure what the weapon is.
Exactly.
The shoulder-mounted cannon, essentially.
Yeah, the shoulder-mounted cannon. Besides those bullets and that, and then you've got the, when he's invisible and blended in, besides those shots, there's nothing. Everything else is happening.
Even when the Predator does fire his shoulder-mounted thing later in the film, you see an up-close of the sparks. Like that practical thing is set to light up.
Exactly, that's right. So they even went that far. And just watching that, just knowing that this was very early days before CGI, it didn't ruin cinema, but it's like had an effect on some of the quality. Yeah. It just, everything about this, man, it's just so good.
It was visually stunning. And not only that too, but what's great about this film as well, I know I keep making comparisons to the later ones, but
but
this is why that Predator, the original, is the best, is because there is literally no backstory.
Yeah.
There's no explanation as to where this thing came from other than out of the sky with an opening scene.
Yeah.
That's not even really needed.
But no, exactly. They could have left that and, okay, fine. We get that it's an alien.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And at the end, it cuts out, like, obviously the climax of the film finishes, and then they fly off into the sunset, and that's it. There's no what happens when he gets home. What happens to the Predator? Is he still alive? There's none of that.
There's no distress signal.
There's no sequel bait that every fucking franchise tries to cram in. Even the latest Predator did that.
Yeah,
with the fucking stupid Iron Man. I haven't seen it, but goddamn it, it's terrible.
But that's the perfect point, though, is the fact that this was made as an awesome standalone film.
Yeah.
They franchised it because it was so successful, of course. But like you said, there's no need for that opening scene because why? Yeah. You know, like that doesn't matter. And at the end, there's no need for sequel bait because this film does it all.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the perfect film in my mind. Just like simple, it covers all bases and that, and it's got something for everyone, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, for sure. That's right. With the Predator as a franchise as a whole, there's recently been a video game release called Predator Hunting Grounds.
Oh, of course, we spoke about that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's like the closest experience that people have had to the very first Predator in a very long time, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't played it recently, but apparently a playable character is Dutch.
Yes.
And they've got an aged Arnold Schwarzenegger in the role. And people have been tossing up the opportunity of Schwarzenegger returning to the films, like as a later sequel, because he hasn't been in them ever since. And everyone's thinking, that's the golden opportunity to have Dutch, the best character in this entire franchise, return. Hasn't happened yet. But as a playable character, apparently it adds to the feel of the video game as if you're playing the first one. And it connects those two, and it's really good. So I urge people to check that out if they're interested as well.
And if it comes to Arnie coming back to a Predator film in the future, I mean, if you're happy to make that latest Terminator film, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Surely Predator would be fucking better than that.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, but either way, man, as a whole, this is an absolute classic. If you get the chance, see it on the big screen because it will not disappoint you. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia as well. I'm pretty sure this is fairly well known by now, but did you know that Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally the Predator?
Really?
You didn't know this?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
so was he a star then? Because that seems like
he was working his way towards the stardom. This was Jean-Claude Van Damme's opportunity to go toe-to-toe with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he jumped on the opportunity and he quit halfway through because the original Predator design looked more like an insect and he had a full body suit on. And there's images of him on Google. You can look this up, but it's in all the special features of Jean-Claude Van Damme dressed up in the original Predator costume. It looks fucking ridiculous. So the fact that it was changed to what it is now is such a better decision.
Yeah.
But the reason he left is because he was expecting a martial arts film versing Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that was his big ticket item.
Okay,
and because that wasn't the case, he fucked off. They had to redesign the costume. They got Kevin Peter Hall in, a 7-foot-tall African-American man, beast. And he crushed it. And I'm pretty sure...
yeah, I see. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
terrible, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not sure if Kevin Peter Hall returned for Predator 2. We may have to discuss that in a a episode at some point
absolutely.
in time.
Maybe Predator 2 will come to the big screen with Danny Glover.
Yeah, and Bill Paxton. Yeah. Yeah, that would... I watched the shit out of that movie as a kid, and then I watched Predator 1. I was like, holy shit. We discussed that in last week's episode.
Yes, we did. Absolutely.
Modest budget of $15 to $18 million. It raked in $98.3 million at the box office.
And then you think about home release afterwards, like, no, it's made
this
coin,
film
that's for sure.
Fucking crushed it. So, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, that has been 2C3 Pod DTCR Does the Cinema.
That's right. If you want to check out more of our content, head to all of the fucking videos surrounding this video. And links are down below to 2's Company, 3's a podcast, 2C3 Pod. We've got 2 podcasts, episodes every week, every Wednesday and every Friday. Check it out.
That's right. We've got news on Wednesdays, and then on Fridays we'll review the freshest trailers and the films coming to theaters. So maybe it'll be another classic next week. Who knows?
That's right. Hopefully we'll find out. Anyway, we'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. We've been 2's Company, and you are the podcast.